Oh, y'all didn't know. Y'all didn't know I had another one, did y'all? Let's get into Tony Hawk 4 now.
We're going to begin this journey right here in college, set in Berkeley, California. College is one of many levels that has a Taco Bell restaurant tucked away inside of its map, but this one in particular is the only one with a secret gap. So you can trigger the gap simply by grinding the top of the restaurant. That's it, but talking about Taco Bell, in the spirit of media preservation, we need to talk about this guy's jacket. And why? Because it's already impossible to get. In collaboration with Taco Bell's inclusion in the game, if you ordered a Lux box through the Taco Bell app during a specific week, you would be gifted a code for a Taco Bell related cosmetic item for your custom skater to wear in-game, including a deck, sweatsuit combo, each piece gifted separately, grip tape, and the jacket combo you see here. But the problem here is that the promo only existed between July 11th through August 13th, 2025, and each item unlocked weekly. If you're unable to complete this side quest before the 13th, you basically couldn't obtain this item anymore. And well, since this video is likely going to release in at least early 2026, then that means that anyone who is just now finding out about this promo and really wanted these items just can't get them. And this is exactly what Activision did with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled when they let gamers unlock a special Sour Patch Kids themed cart by buying 4 different specially marked packages of Sour Patch Kids and Trident gum. However, even this promo has been poorly archived, and you can no longer access the website that held the promo, not even on the Wayback Machine. And the only reason I know about this promo is because, well, I went and found all the codes and unlocked the cart myself. Moving our attention to the stadium, you can see all these national championship banners line the walls. And if you took the time to look at every single one of them, you'll realize that each banner coincides with a release date for a game in the Pro Skater series, excluding Underground, but also including HD and Pro Skater 5. You'll notice 1 year is missing, and that would be the release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, which came out in 2020. And I can guess that the reason why it's missing is because 2020 was also a COVID year within the game universe as well, and all the schools were closed, as you can see from this message to parents in school. As mentioned in my Pro Skater 3 Easter egg recap, Chicken Hawks is probably also a reference to Neversoft dev Chris Roush. See how I said it right this time? Another neat detail that was absent from the original is they actually populate the stands with NPCs. I feel like half of y'all might know, half of y'all might not know, but in the parade float of the book, there's actually legible text in the book, and I'm gonna read it for you right now. Yo, oh legendary skateboard, with wheels that roll like a boss, we give you mad respect, a deck always down for the ride. Hook us up with courage for each ollie, and style to kickflip like we own the place. Remind us, never push Mongo, or we'll look like noobs. When we spill, let us spring back like pros, shaking off the dust, ready for redemption. We embrace every wipeout. Oh venerated board, lead us on this quest, through sketchy spots with courage intertwined, thankful for your strength and support, grateful for this journey. Amen. Let's shred. So I zoomed in on this little flag to see if I could figure out the name of the school, which I couldn't, but I thought it was humorous that this school is labeled as Fine Arts, Science, and Technology, or FAST. The school's message board also has a bunch of neat little posters and other hints of events going on around campus. Some of them are reused assets because, there's been a lot. Wait, what's that? You would think with all the tiny text that it would be just filler, but I think there's actual words on this paper. But who's really going to go through all the effort to figure out what every word on this page says?
Picture this, a quaint, picturesque college nestled in the heart of a verdant valley, where the air is always fresh and the scenery is nothing short of breathtaking. This is the enchanting world of Elmswood, a bastion of higher education that truly stands out from the rest. The moment you step onto the sprawling, meticulously manicured campus, you're greeted by a warm, welcoming atmosphere that seems to radiate from the very bricks of its historic buildings. Elmswood University is an institution where tradition meets innovations. With its ivory-covered facades and state-of-the-art facilities, The buildings, a charming blend of Gothic revival and modern architecture, house classrooms, libraries, and laboratories that are not only aesthetically pleasing, but also designed to foster an environment of intellectual curiosity and discovery. The grand arched entranceways lead to spacious, sun-drenched courtyards where students from all walks of life gather to share ideas, laugh, and learn from one another. The student body at Elmswood is a vibrant tapestry of diversity, with individuals hailing from every corner of the globe. This rich melting pot of culture creates a unique blend of perspectives and experiences that enrich the educational experience for all. The faculty, renowned in their fields, are equally as diverse and are dedicated to providing a personalized and supportive learning environment. They are not teachers, but mentors, eager to challenge and inspire the young minds that pass through their doors. The heart of Elmswood is its academic excellence, with a curriculum that is both rigorous and broad, allowing students to pursue their passions and prepare for a world that is ever-changing. From the humanitarians to the scientists, the arts to business, every program is carefully crafted to equip students with what they need.
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell Elmswood University is, especially since the school's abbreviation is CCHU, and Googling Elmswood University doesn't actually produce any real results, except for this one wiki article from a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater lore wiki. Woodland School, of course, is another reference to both Neversoft and Tony Hawk's hometown. On the outside of the central plaza of the college, you can see this sign that's missing a lot of letters. And while we can try to guess what it might be just by looking at it, you can actually see that most of the letters fell on the floor. And if you were to take the letters that were on the floor, combine it with the ones missing from the sign, you can kind of piece together that the sign is supposed to read Brackenridge Park. We have reached San Francisco, California. And one of the first things I want to show you here is the map. If you've never taken the time to slow down on this level, you've probably missed this map right here. And it's cool because it shows every point of interest on the level. And it's completely accurate. I thought it was just a neat little detail that they didn't have to do, but they did it anyway. And just to the right, you can see this little brochure display that shows details about exploring Alcatraz, which is another bit of really cool world building for this game. And I also saw this transit map of San Francisco, and if it looks familiar, well, that's because it's another reused asset from Tony Hawk 1+2. If you navigate over to the parking lot section of the map, you can actually see there's an ad for Alcatraz Island. Dang, with all this Alcatraz stuff, you'd swear Alcatraz was in the game or something, you know? If you skate towards this edge of the map, you'll notice this rainbow crosswalk painted on the floor. This is actually a reference to a real-life landmark located in San Francisco, known as the Rainbow Crosswalk. Obviously, there's 4 of them, such as this one located in the corner of 18th and Castro Street. I know that one was quite short compared to college, but regardless, here we are at Movie Studio, set in Hollywood, California. This is actually one of the new original additions to the game, and I think it's a pretty solid level if you ask me, even though they didn't do too great of a job hiding the out-of-bounds areas. It's like they developed this map before they learned that there was going to be a free roam cam in the game. But anyway, check out this name on the door, Johnny Kickflip. Or what about this one that says Harrison Board? I think it's very interesting that the numbers for this side of the building on stage 34 is unfinished. What's even more interesting is stage 34 is an actual real life stage at Universal Studios Hollywood, according to their studio tour site. There's also quite a bit of level props hidden underneath the ramps, such as this gold medallion from the cruise ship level, the Tony Hawk statue from Los Angeles, and this building top from Zoo, even though we haven't gotten there yet. If you skate to this part of the map, you can see this whole little city section out of bounds. And, well, there's a little bit of details hidden inside here, but there's one I want to show you that's really tucked away. If you take the camera to this building right here, you can find a red sign with some Mandarin text written on it. If you throw that into Google Translate, it appears to say, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. For the life of me, I have no idea what this tack plate's supposed to mean, so if you have any ideas at all, please let me know in the comments. If you take the camera past this gate right here, you can actually see a tank hidden in storage with a little ghost writing on top of it. I think the tank itself is another reused asset from the Roswell level in Tony Hawk 1+2. Just a quick side tangent, when filming for this part of the video, I noticed this red sign in the Roswell level that reads Vehicle Test Area, Hybrid Tech in Use. And then I looked at the picture of the tank and was wondering why it looked so familiar. And then I saw a Slippy Slides video where he takes the camera inside of San Francisco and he clips into the theater and sees this room that's projecting the image of a tank with a 51. And he had correctly assumed that it was probably a reference to Area 51. And after finding this picture, I could conclude that it is, because the picture of this tank is almost a dead ringer for the one in the projection room, and this 51 is in the exact same font. And also look at these arrows right here. This leads me to believe that this green tank is the original source image for this red poster. And if you look underneath this one, you can see some cop cars from Los Angeles and a plane prop from the airport level. By now, I'm sure everybody already knows about the Ninja Turtles secret area in the map, but most people tend to miss this rat carrying a slice of za. But yeah, here it is for all to see again. It's got all the Ninja Turtle stuff you've come to expect. I'm not going to talk about what everyone else has already talked about, but I will talk about this. This is the Venice banner from Venice Beach. I love it from Tony Hawk 1+2. God, this laziness just drives me crazy. I can't get over it. I just thought it was kind of weird that despite being in Hollywood, there's still a sign for the pier from San Francisco. A hop and a skip across the pond from San Francisco, we're now in Alcatraz, one of the most famous prison islands in the US. And one of the first things I wanted to point out is that there's a garden gnome piloting this boat. And to prepare myself for the next one, I'm going to go ahead and put on perfect sketch balance, because I'm about to show you the full monologue from Ranger Ron.
The prison closed in 1963, but in 1969, Native American activists occupied the place for 19 months. Want to know how they got here? They jumped off a boat and swam ashore. Wild, right? Better not try it yourself. We don't let people in the water these days. See those double doors? They're all over the island, and they lead to secret staircases. They're from back in the day when guards had to get around the place quickly, just like in the movies. I don't like to go in there personally. It's a maze, too dark and spooky, but it's amazing the places you can wind up. One time, a tour group got lost and it took us all day to find them. Well, most of them. Don't worry though, it might have a dark history, but Alcatraz Island is safe as houses these days. Just stay with your tour group and keep a map handy. That's what I always tell my wife and the kids. It's safer on the island than it is on the mainland. But you know, they worry. I worry too. Sheila's been working at the foundry and the commute's a killer. But you wouldn't believe the kinds of accidents they have over there, especially with all the skateboarders causing trouble these days. They can be so reckless in pursuit of their spectacular tricks and their staggering high scores. Present company excluded, of course. I know you always put safety first. You joined at the perfect time. We were just about to head up to the cell block. You know, it's no longer in use, but some people say they hear strange sounds up there sometimes. I've never heard them myself, but you know me. Sometimes I get so frazzled I can't even hear myself think, especially after a coffee or two. And I usually don't stop at two, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, by the way, I've got a thermos in the back if you'd like a drink. We should probably pull over because if you spill it, I'll have to make a special trip back to the mainland for a refill, and I'm really not supposed to do that. Anyway, what was I saying? Ranger Bob, he's the worst. Ever since he was fired, that whole cult thing, there's been a lot of rumors about the island. You know how they say there's no such thing as bad publicity? I think they're wrong. Ritual sacrifice is bad publicity, but we still do get plenty of tourists. Maybe not as many as before, but still more than enough to keep me busy. Yeah, I don't miss that Ranger Bob. I always knew he was a bad apple from day one. Worse than a bad apple, a bad worm. The fun never stops here on Alcatraz Island. There's a lot to see, so let's continue the tour. Hang tight and we'll pass the cell block soon. Of course, they're not in use anymore, but if you listen carefully, you might hear the rattling of chains, or even a twang of Al Capone's banjo. Some say Alcatraz Prison is one of the most haunted places in the country. Just last October, one of those reality television shows came by and tried to capture a ghost on film. Can you believe it? They even brought a psychic along, but she left almost right away. I don't go in for that supernatural stuff myself, but I have to admit, I've heard a creepy voice or two in my time on the island. Spooky! Anyway, Alcatraz has 4 different cell blocks, including the notorious Cell Block D, where most of the most twisted inmates were kept. Each cell is about 9 by 5 feet, and that's not a lot of space. Back during the Civil War, the prison was used to hold Confederate soldiers, and after President Lincoln was assassinated, also held sympathizers found celebrating his death. In more recent history, Alcatraz Island was declared a landmark in 1986 and is one of the country's most popular tourist attractions. Whether it's the gruesome fate of the many prisoners or fascination with the eerie supernatural phenomenon that still haunts the island, there's just something special about Alcatraz, not to mention the sick lines.
Once you manage to gain access to the prison block area of the map, you'll see this ghost prisoner just floating here. And if you take the camera to his uniform, you'll see that his prisoner number is the release date for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Speaking of prisoners, if you travel to this cell right here and look at the man locked up behind bars, you'll see it's none other than the lost Ranger Bob. Oh, the pain you've caused these poor tourists. And just like in San Francisco, here you can see a park map with all the details of all the POIs on the island. Yep. On the side of this building, you can actually see a piece of graffiti with the words Skate Heaven. And of course, one of the last remnants from the old goal system in Pro Skater 4, this loop-de-loop ramp is a part of a goal from the original game in which you had to launch yourself off the ramp and hit the target in the water to try to get the best score possible. The second originally designed level by the crew over at Iron Galaxy, here we are at Water Park, set in the Mojave Desert. This level's inclusion, besides making up for the missing levels, is likely a reference to the High and Dry video, filmed for Thrasher magazine at what was formerly known as Wet and Wild Palm Springs in 2019, featuring pros like Daewon Song, Tori Pudwill, Omar Hassan, Jaws, Lizzie Armando, and even the Birdman himself.
Fuck, I can't do it.
Your ribs okay?
Yeah. I just can't breathe.
If you successfully complete the goal, Get Back at Eric Sparrow, you'll hear this audio that's a reference to Tony Hawk's Underground.
Damn, I should have fixed you back in Tampa.
This, of course, is in reference to the storyline of Tony Hawk's Underground, specifically the part in which you try to enter the Tampa Am contest, but Eric Sparrow conveniently forgets to put your name down, causes you to have to prove yourself to the pros, winning a spot, and eventually winning Best Trick. And while we're here, it kind of bothers me that the entrances for each of the rides doesn't actually line up with the actual entrance that you can see if you take the camera. Once again, it just seems like a big oversight for one of the original Iron Galaxy created levels. They'll get there someday. If you pop into the arcade and you take a look to the left, you'll see a pinball table with a cloth on top of it. But that ain't just any pinball table. If you take a tiny peek under the sheet, you can see that this is actually the setting for the stage pinball, which confirms that pinball is actually taking place in the level Water Park. But more on pinball later. There's this little theater that's like missing a bunch of letters on this marquee, and I think I've figured out what it might be saying, but it still doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If you take the letters that are on the marquee and you look at all the letters that are missing, both from the floor and the roof, and you piece them all together, the closest I could get is it says, like, whoa, live today? Which makes absolutely no sense to me. So if you have any ideas, if you think this is correct, or do you have any other theories, please let me know. Traveling back to the East Coast, we've reached Kona, which is based on the real-life Kona Skate Park, which is based in Jacksonville, Florida. Now this level has one of the coolest Easter eggs in the game by far, and I think I want to start with that one. If you take your camera over to the scoreboard, you'll see a list of sponsors here in this box, and while it may just look like a list of companies, these are actually all game studios who have worked on Tony Hawk games in one way or another. And here they are, so get ready for a rapid fire. We got Iron Galaxy, who worked on Tony Hawk 3+4, Vicarious Visions, who ported the original games to Game Boy Advance, as well as developing Tony Hawk 1+2, and likely part of 3+4 before being assimilated into the Call of Duty content machine. But I can't prove that last part. Beanox, who worked on the Xbox ports of the original 3 and 4, as well as supporting development of 1+2. Robomoto, who developed Poop from a Butt, hope that none of them ever find a job in the game industry or any industry ever again. Disruptive Games, who worked with Poop from a Butt to develop shit from its ass. Religion Albany, formerly known as Vicarious Visions. Activision, which includes Neversoft by extension, without whom we wouldn't be watching this video today. Aspire, who worked on the Mac ports of various Neversoft games, including the original Tony Hawk trilogy. Shaba Games, who worked on the previous gen versions of the original games. Ironically, they started out by developing Grind Session, which was a rival skateboarding game released in 2000 for PS1, starring skate legend Daewon Song, who I met in 2020. They were eventually acquired by Activision in April of 2002. Toys for Bob, who developed 2 spin-off games, Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam for the Wii, and Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure, which actually runs on the Tony Hawk 4 engine. Treyarch, who developed the Dreamcast ports of the original trilogy, as well as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X, a remaster released exclusively for the original Xbox. Edge of Reality, who worked on the Nintendo 64 ports of the original Tony Hawk 1 and 2, as well as the 64 port of Neversoft's Spider-Man, released in 2000. Fun fact, this game also runs on the Tony Hawk engine. Gearbox Software, who worked on the PC port of Tony Hawk 3. Glue Studios, who worked on the port of Tony Hawk Ride for iOS and Android. EA Mobile, who actually I have no idea why they're here. I couldn't find anything linked to Tony Hawk at all. Supervillain Studios, who worked on the PS2 port of Tony Hawk Downhill Jam. Baba Roga, who worked on a rare mobile port of Tony Hawk 4. Fun Labs, who worked with developers of Poop from a Butt and shit from an ass. IdeaWorks Game Studio, who worked on the Nokia N-Gage port of Tony Hawk 1. Zynga, specifically their subsidiary Zynga Eugene, formerly known as Buzz Monkey Studios, who worked on the Wii port of Tony Hawk Ride. Create Studios, who worked on Tony Hawk's Motion for the Nintendo DS. And finally, Westlake Interactive, who worked on the PC ports of Tony Hawk 1 and 2. As you can see, this competition, as well as the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game series, is quite literally brought to you by each of the developers on this list, except for EA Mobile and Poop from a Butt. If you also think that this is one of the raddest things ever, I want you to go ahead and make some noise! One new addition to the skate park is the appearance of a Zoomies. But not just any Zoomies, it's an old style Zoomies. You can tell because of the stained glass look above the windows. And how do I know this? Well, I used to be a store manager for Zoomies at not one, but 2 different locations. both of which have shut down. And I know that Zoomies has a reputation in the skateboarding community, but my love for the Tony Hawk franchise and my love for skateboarding is what brought me here in the first place. And every day I step foot on SAO's floor, I try to share a bit of that skateboarding love with all of my customers and with my people. And working for Zoomy also granted me the opportunity to bump shoulders with some of the skateboarding greats, both classic and modern. Though I have parted ways with Zoomies and have no desire to return to the company, I will always cherish the memories I've made while I was there.
We're now at Shipyard, set simply in California. Off the rip, it's time to revisit something that we put off until just now. Though we first get a glimpse on the level cruise ship, Oh Shit is actually a legacy brand from the original Tony Hawk 4. Just a small taste of the tongue-in-cheek humor that used to drive the Pro Skater series forward.
And if you're curious, the names of the two half-pipe vessels are Indomitable Capybara and Old Muskrat, though I couldn't find anything significant regarding this IMO number shown here. If you look off way into the background, you can see the level cruise ship, thus bringing this Easter egg full circle. And this next one is so obscure, I haven't seen anybody talk about it at all. If you look at this building, you'll see the words Nickel, Onions, Marine. And the only lead I could find was this picture of this NPC posted on Reddit, who has the same exact words written on his shirt. Now what these words mean, I have no clue, and nobody else has posted anything about it, so if you know what this means, please let me know in the comments. There are a few secrets hidden inside the vents. The first of which that I could find was this secret ghost. You can see it easier if you put the camera on cell shaded mode. And the other one is tucked away right here, where you can see two tiny little aliens playing basketball together. I thought I'd take a moment to show you guys some of the funny shipping company names on the containers, such as Bounty Box, Oops Shipping, Maybe Tomorrow Logistics, Lost in Transit, and my favorite, Ship Happens. We have 3 destinations left. The first of which being London, set in England. Wanted to start this section off with a little spot check. Down the ramp here, we have South Bank Skate Park. In the real world, this skate park is nestled underneath the Queen Elizabeth Hall, a concert venue that was added to the South Bank Center in 1967. South Bank has been the home for British skateboarding culture, and it has paved the way for skaters alike, including series mainstay Jeff Rowley.
And we're in London at South Bank, iconic skate spot. 37 years old. First I came to skate here when I was 14 years old. I was kind of just blown away at, seeing all these skate spots that I saw in these famous American skate videos. There's a guy named Mark Gonzalez who's arguably the most legendary skateboarder in the world. In fact, he is. He kind of taught us all how to skateboard. And guys like that did demos here in like the early 80s. And then you had people like Steve Caballero and Lance Mountain coming in the 80s that are still coming back now. This is a hub. Like, we're doing a Vans demo right now at South Bank. It's one of the most iconic skate spots in the whole world. As far as like the cultural significance in Europe, there's nothing that even comes close to South Bank.
On the opposite side of the Queen London Hall, you can see that Bankerton Big Bank has its own Anthony Frank room, also known as the Tony Hawk room. For some reason, this planter inside the Great Eats Garden is growing donuts. Anybody else want to come check out the Rams exhibition so we can learn about people like Reginald von Piepensch, Steichten Dogpoop, Maximilian Bordenbreaker, Petunia Hoffenspipe, and Samuel Shredwell? Another cool inclusion to this version of the map is the Royal Zoo Amusement Center, thus cementing Zoo's location as taking place in London. But before we head over there, let's take a trip to the downtown best and only music store, where yes, we still sell cassette tapes. And you can also get 10% off on all string instruments upon showing a coupon that was never published. Just a hop and a skip away from downtown, we've reached the Royal Zoo, set in London, of course. Also the birthplace of Tony the Hawk. All over the level, you can see signs for a Save Stompy skate competition. And while we don't exactly know the fate of Stompy the Elephant, we do know one thing. Stompy was cool enough to get his own custom Pal Peralta VCJ graphic, VCJ being the artist for Pal Peralta. What's interesting about this is that VCJ is also famous for another elephant graphic, the one being this graphic made for Mike Vallely, who ironically enough is actually one of the cut characters for this exact game.
I happen to own this graphic myself. Picked it up at a local shop.
Have any of you guys noticed the weird text on this sign over here? The text on this sign for the zoo administration building reads, "This is where we calculate and pay our animals' salary." You can say we pay them peanuts. Our handlers and staff are voluntary, so they get to drink free water we provide them. That one's not even half as weird as the one for info and hospitality. Things on the right may seem left to you, but you're mistaken. If you remember correctly, you turn right, right? In the continuation, you can find a payphone for emergency calls. Newer generations will be perturbed by the analog nature of the phone. So if you have a panic attack, use the phone to call for aid. Oh yeah. I think one of the saddest and unnecessary removals from this version of the map is the access to the aquarium. Damn shame. If you take a look at the map, you can see where all the defunct enclosures were. I don't think I mentioned this before, but this version of the zoo is different in one major way. It's now closed. It's a shame too, because they added so many extra little details that really made this place feel like a zoo. But I guess the writing's on the wall, as you can see from this closed off monkey exhibit. And for those who don't know, this door inside of the giraffe exhibit that leads to the monkey enclosure used to hold the secret monkey poop dodgeball minigame from the original. More evidence of the zoo being closed down is this maintenance sign for the lion enclosure and the fact that the snack bar has been converted into a skate shop. And to make things even sadder, upon further investigation, there is a gap that kind of hints at the fate of Stop the Elephant. And one last secret before we depart the zoo. At the monkey enclosure, you can see a Spanish version of the "Oh, you found me" graffiti. And of course, this one does not count towards the challenge. We've reached our final destination, pinball, set in the arcade, located at Water Park. I actually really enjoyed this level. This was a great new addition from the team over at Iron Galaxy. There's lots of different ways to get some sick lines going up and down the map, and with a little technical know-how, you can even do an infinite. One cool feature that's easy to overlook on this map is the fact that the high score counter also keeps track of your game score. And of course, the person playing the pinball game is the Birdman himself. I don't think it was intentional, but the little ghoul at the end of the level kind of reminds me of the gate from the secret haunted house area in Carnival, a level that also didn't make it into this game. And of course, we got this clear homage to the Neversoft eyeball as seen in the Neversoft logo. On the window of this fake shop facade, you can see the words "Keep Out, Dead Inside," which is a clear reference to The Walking Dead. Inside of this launch tunnel, you can see a stamp that says "Made in Florida," which is a clear reference to the fact that Iron Galaxy has a studio in Florida, and this is likely the studio that developed this game. They also developed the wood used to make this cabinet, apparently. IGS, fibers you can trust? We make plywood, sometimes. Termite resistant, probably. Borer free, maybe? Now here's an Easter egg I'm surprised everyone else missed. On this wall you can see a price ticket for $19.78 at the Monroeville Mall. The Monroeville Mall is actually one of the primary filming locations for George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. And of course, this movie came out in 1978. I couldn't find anything significant regarding this number, so if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. Along the back wall underneath the scoreboard, you can see various tombstones that line the coping just above the massive quarter pipe at the end of the map. One of them says "Rip and Tear," which is our final Easter egg relating to Doom Guy. The most famous song from his soundtrack is called "Rip and Tear." This cutout of a zombie with a tie on his head, a cricket paddle, and the name tag seems like a pretty clear homage to Shaun of the Dead. A horror comedy film released in 2004 starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. It's also one of my top favorite movies of all time. And one cool detail about this movie is that on Shaun's name tag, you can see he works at Foray Electric, which itself is a reference to Ken Foray, who plays one of the main protagonists in the previously mentioned Dawn of the Dead. And he also plays the dad on Kenan and Kel. And I just want to end off the video with one more little secret detail, one that appears basically in every single level of the game. Here is the model for the secret tape, which has two dates, August 31st, 1999, which is the release of the very first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and September 29th, 2015, which was the last game in the Pro Skater series, being Tony Hawk Poop from a butt.
And that'll about do it for Easter eggs and secrets inside of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!